Oh, yeah, it's go time. Woo, woo. It's 12 o'clock noon. Let the explosion begin. Before we even start, I want to give a shout out to who powers the podcast here, Ascend. That's right. The Staffing Shark podcast is powered by Ascend, as they are the employer of record, all in one platform. So you can grow your staffing firm quickly without worrying about the back office or paperwork. Reach out to my friends at Ascend today. What's up, brother Mike?
How are we doing?
Dude, I am pumped for this show, man. You know that it's been a long overdue, man. I know your family real well. And I got to ask you straight up, how long have you been with Randstad?
Be going on 7 years, July of 2019.
Okay, so you know what this reminds me of? The football draft's coming up here in Pittsburgh. It's like 7 years with one staffing firm. Mike, I'm going to tell you, like a year and a half, everybody becomes a free agent, man. You're like a veteran in the industry now. 7 years with one company. Holy shit.
We're getting there. Yeah, I mean, draft is coming around the corner. It is in Pittsburgh this year, but I'm looking at the 13th and 30th overall pick this year, so you can do the math on that one.
Who's your team?
The Dolphins.
That's okay. We won't say much about the Dolphins.
Yeah, not much to say about.
That's it, brother. Okay, so let's just deep dive in, because I think this is a subject, me helping some people try to get jobs in the industry. It's all about sales. You know that. I mean, that's what it is. You got to drive revenue in 26. And of course, how many people say, you know what? They go into companies, I'm not interested. I don't want you, this kind of stuff like that. So let's just approach it, Mike. I mean, with you and your team and stuff like that. So, you build your list, and we know this, and you can elaborate about this too. You can build your list through AI now and pretty much know what staffing firms are in there, what's the pain points and stuff like that. So let's jump into that and then go to the baby said no.
Yeah. So I would say the first and foremost, what you need to do is build your A, B, and C list. And I love this because our A companies are those Fortune 500 companies that you're looking at, right? Ones that have the MSP programs, VMS. There's a long, long sales cycle. There could be 18 different decision makers for 18 different things. Those are your A's, not really what you're going to prospect every day. And then you have your B's. Those are your money makers, right? You're looking at maybe 5 to 25 temps that you're getting per, and then your C's, maybe they're your 1 or 2 perm fees a year. They're your 1 to maybe 10 special projects for 1 or 2 weeks, but you want to really focus on those B's. And so what we're doing is driving those B opportunities. How do we move those forward? And then all while you're prospecting the A's, they'll come along if you're consistent enough. And the C's are your steady eddies of, hey, peaks come along every year. We know we can count on them for an extra revenue stream. So that's what we're focusing on. And, you need to know your size and capabilities of your own organization in order to make that list appropriately.
I love how you said that. And you got to tell people out there, just spray and pray doesn't work. You can't send 3,000 emails out and hoping somebody bites on that.
No. And it's like skill marketing candidates, right? Like I can have, the best candidate in the state of Virginia. But if I don't understand the company's needs and I say, hey, this is a great candidate, it's like, yeah, that's great, Mike. Thank you very much for that. But it doesn't even fit us. It's not even what we do.
No,
so you gotta be careful when you're doing that.
Okay, so we go into a company. Okay, let's do the scenario here. Okay, you go into a company and you know how it is. People solicit sometimes. You got to build relationships. And we say this over and over again. So company says, I'm not interested, Mike. I'm good right now, which we know there's nothing perfect in the workforce, man. They always need something. So give me your approach, man.
Yeah, I mean, I walk in, someone says that. My first thought is, now they probably aren't hiring. And I know I have the mindset that my solution isn't for everybody, right? Someone say, I've never used staffing before. I have no interest in using staffing. I'm small. Cool, got it. Like I'll remove you from the list. No worries, no hard feelings. If I know someone uses staffing, I know there's an opportunity there, but they say they're not interested. My first question is, I hear you, not for everybody. Is there a time that you typically review your workforce partners? That's it. And if they say we're on a 4-year contract, when does that expire? I'll follow up with you then. I mean, it's just that simple. You just got to know the time when they review it. And then you come in with some value throughout the year, maybe a Q1 stat, Q2 marketing, employment marketing information, things like that, right? Where you stay relevant, but you're not asking for business. So you got to ask for the timing when they review it. Because if you understand when they look at those business decisions, you can position yourselves pretty easily.
What do you think the problem is with like people in sales? Like they try to rush and get that wreck. They go in and they just want that job order and they don't do the research. I mean, can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit? Because I see it all the time that they just go in and they're like, hey, we got the bodies for you. We want that order.
I think that's a mistake sometimes. I
All the
do. I
time.
mean, it's great when you say, I have this pool of 15 great forklift operators. We can put them in. We can move product out your door. You can make this amount of money. This how much money you save. Like that's great. But you don't know the company culture. You don't know what their boss is like. You don't know what the floor supervisors are like. You don't know the type of forklift equipment that they're driving. It's just so much that goes into it. And if you don't understand that organization and their goals and their initiatives and their yearly plans, you could put 15 people there, but you might be left with 5 at the end of the week. And at the end of 3 weeks, you're left with none. And then they're looking at you saying, great job, thanks. It caused me more headaches than not. So you need to dive into why they're opening, what they have done, why did or did that not work, and what did they do to try to resolve it.
Exactly, because they can say, "Oh, we have all these job openings," and they could be from like 2 years ago. Then it's
Right,
like, are they serious about hiring or not? And
right.
something else, I really want to talk about this because I think when you go into a meeting, and they say they're not hiring, you can uncover a lot of challenges they have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when was the last time they did hire? What were some of the obstacles that they had? Or what was the success story? How long was it open for? How did you fill that role? That's a huge one. If they use, oh, I used, whatever partners to fill the role. Oh, so they did use a staffing partner. Cool. All right. And you wait and you monitor, you make yourself relevant. That's all it is. It's just relevancy and timing. So that's the way I view it.
I love that. And you know what? I always say you have to educate them too. Because
Mhm.
when we go in, Mike, I got to tell you, 9 out of 10 times they've used a staffing firm and they probably just roll their eyes. I've seen it all the time. They're
Yep.
like, oh, another one of you. It's
Yep.
like because
Yep.
over promise, under service. I say that all the time. So when you go in, they always say, what makes you different? And seriously, all the time we say we're different, but what
Oh,
actions do you take to make yourself different,
don't
Mike?
don't you dare say the word quality in there too. Everybody's got the best talent, everyone's got the fastest service, everyone's got all
Mhm.
the bells and whistles, and I think if you say the word quality, it's not not different from the rest. So when someone says what makes you different, you need to build your own commercial, look at your company's value propositions, employee value props that we have, and then your own personal agenda, right? That builds Mike Bartel's 30-second commercial of why I'm different. I don't talk about quality, I don't talk about speed to market. Find something like the words human capital. That could be a good one, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, so workforce solutions, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And do that in 30 seconds and don't talk about, I need 15 people tomorrow because everybody's saying that. And it takes time to build it. I'm not going to tell you mine because then everybody else has it.
Mhm.
Right? Then I got to find a new one. It takes a while to make. But yeah, I mean, you need to take your time and practice it too. Maybe with your manager or your coworkers or your peers, whatever you have. But practice your 30-second commercial of why you're different. And if your coworker says, "Oh, I say the same thing," well, change it up. Do it differently.
Exactly. Do you think a lot of like sales reps do not prepare themselves for the meeting? They just try to wing it a lot
Yeah,
of times. I mean, like there's a lot of
yeah,
research that should go behind the scenes on that. You should really
yeah,
educate yourself on that company.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to wing it when I first started. Like,
Well, we've
oh,
all done it, right? You're going out
it's
there and
another
100
3PL.
doors just
Yeah,
knocking on, putting door hangers on and say,
right, right. I mean, I used to go to these massive industrial. I still do, but I go to these massive industrial parks in like Newport News and Norfolk. I'd park my car, and on a nice day, I just walk around and
mm-hmm.
knock on every single door that I could. It's great, right? Because you get a ton of connects, meet a ton of people, but at the same time, you're not really building any value behind that oftentimes, right? And you're sweaty. So it's pretty gross by the last door
Oh,
knock. It's
can you
terrible
imagine
in the
like an
heat.
80-degree heat, especially where you're at, even in Pittsburgh, the
No, it's
stagnant weather.
humid.
And industrial
Yeah.
parks are always hot. You know that. There's no wind
Yeah.
going through there at all.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
No, it's
and then you
yeah.
go and I went in
Humid.
one time, Mike, and actually, the one woman said, "Hey, can I give you like some napkins? Your forehead's all like got beads
Yeah.
on it, from sweat and stuff like that.
I mean,
My shirt's all wet. And really
sometimes
just,
that's the way in.
you know what? Sometimes it is. It is because it's like,
Yeah, I mean, hey,
you
HR
have any
probably has
water?
some napkins in Spadville.
Hey,
So
by the
that's your
way,
way in.
where's the
Could
ad do
be.
at? Oh, with the hiring manager, right? Okay, can I go back
Yeah,
with you?
perfect. Got it. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, I'd be lying to you if I said I haven't done it before. But like your research should come beforehand. And I'm not talking about, look at all of the publicly traded companies, look at all their financials, the results, know every member of the board, know every person in that building. Like it is just what do they hire for?
Hmm.
Um, and then what are your local employment statistics around that position? So you can talk to it. You can say, most companies here, ABC company down the road has experienced, 15% turnover in these positions compared to the, local market of 7.5, we'll call it, right? These are some of the challenges. I'm curious if that resonates with you. It's their neighbor, the community market rates. Does it make sense to you? There you go. Like you can learn so much just from that and you keep it open-ended. So
Well,
you're an expert, you have a client that's their neighbor, so they could be taking talent from them and you want to help them.
you got that. And you summed that up pretty much. You don't want to be a vendor. You want to be a partner. I say this all the time,
Right.
Mike.
Yeah, and that's a challenge when you do want to be a partner because there are so many vendors out there, right? Especially when you're competing with 5 or 6 other agencies. So in my division, the in-house side, we actually place dedicated site managers on site to these large facilities, right? And they're overseeing the entire workforce flow for their contingent labor. So when you're competing with 5 or 6 other agencies, there could be headaches, right? With 5 or 6 invoices per week, a lot of turnover on one, but not turnover in the other. Agency one is getting the same candidates from agency two after agency three already fired them, 2 months prior. And so those are vendors. When you come in with an actual partner, you want to look at beyond the surface level of, okay, you have turnover, you're losing money because you don't have people on the production line. What are the soft costs behind your actual workforce flow? Is that training costs? Is that burnout from your supervisors and your trainers? Are they being frustrated? Are they showing up late now? Do they need to work overtime? How much overtime does that cost you? So things that don't always show up on their P&L might be hurting them in the long run. And then you go down the tax route, and sometimes it makes sense to just consolidate it.
You summed that up. I used to remember going into companies and there'd be like 5 staffing firms and would supply a digital time clock, something like that, and say,
Mhm.
we'll throw that in with the package. I mean, you
Right.
can win business all the time that way. I got to
Yeah.
ask you one thing. I always say this, sales is up and down. We know that up and down. It's very emotional. It's hard on our mental health. But like when a company says no, I know a lot of sales reps will just either walk away or they'll just keep blowing them up every month and just agitate them. So what is your process on this, man?
Oh, yeah. Someone says no. I mean, this is the difference between your vendor and your partner here, too, is
Mhm.
develop that trust and say, I hear you, totally respect your decision. I appreciate the loyalty to your current staffing partners. I'll follow up and I will follow up with you, we'll call it June 10th, and I'll see if we can get a brief 25-minute coffee meeting together. That's it. And my huge sticking point here is you better send that email June 10th. And Google makes it pretty easy. You can schedule send emails on June 10th. So, you don't have to put it on your calendar, but literally type out that email, schedule, send it, and forget it. You have to do that because now all of a sudden you're doing something that you said you did. Maybe at that point in time, the staffing firm did not do something they said they did.
Ooh, follow up. Can I say that word that we usually follow up slides through the cracks all the time, right? How many times have you
Yeah.
had business cards on your desk? And you're like, oh shit, I forgot to follow up with that person. And it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Tuesday.
All the time. All the
Mhm.
time. And as when you're first starting out in sales, use that sales CRM, use it to its fullest advantage. Like, I know certain ones you can put a task ahead. So every time you call someone, say you leave a voicemail, put one for 2 weeks later, a week later, however, whatever your cadence is, it doesn't matter. But always have a next step identified. And when someone tells you no, establish that next step. And if they really, truly do not want anything to do with you, they'll tell you, no, do not contact me. and then either A, you did something wrong. Um, I mean, so you said something wrong, or B, they're
Mhm.
happy with their partner and it's just not the right time. And so by you saying, I'll follow up then, now you got the right time, you know when to respectfully follow up. And it's not, don't do it weekly, please. I tell people all the time,
Oh,
no need to follow up weekly because in our world, nothing changes in a week significantly. It could not even change in a year. So asking them, is it okay if I follow up in June? It's the next quarter, close to Q3. You might be able to find something.
you're right on that, and I always say at the end of the day, you always say, hey, you know where I'm at, because they're going to keep
Hmm.
that card, because sooner or later something's going to go bad with the other firm, or they're not going to, something's
Yeah,
going to happen. Seriously. So you have a good shot at it. They're just not ready right now. And I think that's the
yeah,
big thing you're saying today is like, timing, be patient.
yeah. It is all timing. Um, if if you don't establish that with your prospects, like it's just consistency in sales. It's a hard job because it's hard to be consistent. And that's anything in life too. Working out, committing to, a habit, a hobby, everything. Consistency is hard.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, and sales is the same way. You don't have to be, this huge Harvard MBA grad and 4.0. Apparently GPAs go above 4 now. Didn't know that.
I think they are right at 4.3 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But I didn't have it. But a lot of people, you have the consistency, you have the drive to win, you understand people and you understand processes, and you learn to communicate effectively that way. You'll be just fine. And that's all sales is, just consistency and delivering on under promising and over delivering.
You got it. You know what? And I always say, get a 4.0 in common sense. You're good to go, man.
Yeah, honestly.
Seriously, that's what it's about, because when these companies say no, I mean, there's, don't pressure them and say, well. And I see this happen a lot of times too. When I went into meetings before, and you've probably seen this before, where they want to get that last word in. You don't have to get that last word in. It's okay.
No, no. And my job isn't to turn a no into a yes. My job is to turn a maybe into a yes.
Wow, I like that.
Right? That was good.
That was good, man. I'm
But,
gonna have to use
but
that. Let
yeah,
me
I
write
mean,
that down, man. That's a new quote for Gary Vee, right?
right? But
Couple
yeah, I
of
mean,
Kellis
that's
quotes.
that's really what it is. Is if someone flat out says no, I'm not going to change their mind then, and especially in our world in people services, like I can't convince you to hire somebody because that's money for you and your organization. If you truly don't need it, then you don't need it, and it's wasted money. Like I'm talking to an owner, and I can't tell an owner to hire 3 more people because that's less money in that owner's pocket. But if he has a need and he's interested but kind of on the fence about it, well, that's when you dive in. Well, what's holding you up? What would prevent this from moving forward? What questions do you have? You say like, my biggest fear is blank, or I'm afraid that this might be a hiccup. Can I clear this up for you? Where can I help? And those are all helpful words. You're bringing it to your biggest fear. Wink, wink. That's all it
Hmm.
is. So it's turn a maybe into a yes. The no's are no's. Sometimes it is what it is. There's no reason behind it. It's just a no.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, and we can elaborate about this, is like the listening skills. I think we go into appointments and we just talk about ourselves for the 5 minutes, and that
Yep.
person didn't even get a word in edgewise.
Yeah. The salesperson that talks about themselves is not getting anywhere. It's 80% asking questions, 10% listening, 10% selling. Or
Can we say that
something
again?
like
It's not about me. It's not about I. Come on now.
no, it's not. It's really not. And I think about that when I send emails
Mhm.
to the prospects is, you see yourself, I try not to say I hope you're well because everybody says that, but I'm doing this. I do that. I'm hoping this. I look forward to. And it's a lot of me rather than addressing them and their pain points and what's holding up their organization.
You got it. We got a couple questions here. Here we go. So, how do we know it's a maybe prospect?
Ooh. So there are some signs and some hints that they'll drop to you that I've used Athens before. I haven't had the best experience with this, or I typically stay away from it because of cost or culture or experience quality, right?
Yeah.
So it's when they say the words like typically and I'm not sure, like the kind of like they're on the fence a little bit, those are some hot buzzwords you should be looking for.
And you can hear it in their voice too. You
Yep.
can tell when somebody kind of like is embracing the conversation with the handshake at the end or whatever it's like,
Mhm.
you know. I mean, if they're on the phone or they're looking at paperwork while you're talking, you're like, dude, there's a
Yeah.
disconnect right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so that might be a no prospect, right? They might be taking your meeting, and some people are afraid to say no, and that you need to identify that too. That's part of you and your pre-qualification of a prospect. And that's again part of your research, right? I go into an industrial park, I see two cars in a parking lot of a 50,000 square foot building. Probably not going to use staffing. It is what it is. I go into a 300,000 square foot 3PL facility with 100 cars in a parking lot. Probably a good prospect for me. And probably, right? So you'll know someone's a maybe through pre-qualifying, whether they use, not use, have used, never have before, maybe surface level pain points that they're experiencing. Then you qualify them of quantity, throughout how much they use throughout the year, peak seasons, things like that. And then you'll have a good gauge of, is this a no, yes, and if it's a no, that they're going to tell you no too.
We got another shout out here. Go, Charles. I love when they say they've used you, but weren't thrilled with the results. And they truly were under promise and under delivered. You look like a rock star for just doing what we do daily. So true. You know that. It is
100%.
so true. You know,
Yep.
yeah, you can't keep saying, you know, you can just come in like a Superman and a Stormman. You know, I even joke with me, even though I wear my medium shirts and I come in as a shark, I'm very well mannered when I go in there and start joking with them. But dude, do not come in with that attitude like you can solve all problems, because we can't.
Yeah, and I'll tell prospects straight up, and I'll say I am not perfect. There are going to be weeks where I might have a 75% fill rate.
Mm-hmm.
I can do everything on the front end, get all these people pre-qualified, pass the backgrounds, drug screens, do whatever I have to do, and they still might not show up. It's the nature of the business. And anyone who says I've 100% across the board, they're lying to you.
Exactly. Because it's them candidates that you think that are like 100% in, they don't show up. And then you got the candidate, you're like, "God, that person's not going to show up." And they're there every day.
Yeah, yeah, and they're
It's
working
like,
45 hours a week. Like, this person's
it's
awesome.
like, wow. So you never know till they show up that
Yeah.
first day what happens.
Yeah.
And that's something else that I think a lot of salespeople maybe should jump on. And I don't know how your take is on this, but like that first week onboarding, you know, if the salesperson's involved with that, they need to interact with that company to see if that candidate's, you know, or the recruiter, if they're doing well or not, because that's a new
Yeah.
thing. That first week is so big for so many companies.
100%. And that's the beauty of being in the in-house services side of Randstad is there's a dedicated team on site for you. They're doing the orientations, they're bringing people with pre-employment tours. We see it all, right? So we have an advantage there. But if you're with the branch, then yeah, that first client on the first orientation day, you better be there. It's 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 p.m., like work with your manager, or if you're the manager, do it. Right, be there on that first day, because you'd be surprised how many agencies don't do that, or how many reps don't do that.
Not at all. They get the job order and they
Yeah.
disappear. I got to tell you this, and
Right.
you've probably seen this before. You know, I go into companies that are like, yeah, we had a, ABC staffing firm was here. You know, I'm not going to mention names, but it's like, yeah, got the job order, never heard back from the person. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so it depends how your organization is built too, right? Whether you're full
Mhm.
desk, half desk. But yeah, I mean, if you're in a full desk role, even a half desk, like, that's your client. You should be in front of your client, at least touching base weekly. Like it just makes sense, especially on the first week when you first get the orders filled. Like that's crucial.
it is. And you got to keep the company happy too. You know what I mean? Because there's
Yeah.
going to be problems. They're going to say, well, this candidate, I don't know, there's something wrong. You know how it is that first week, HR gets in there. So you got to be able to put that fire out and say, this candidate, trust me.
Yeah.
We sent them. We believe in this person. Give them a shot.
Yeah, and the trust starts afterwards too. Like sometimes
Yeah.
getting the contract signed and pricing and all the amendments that you need, that could be the easy part. The hard part is building trust. And you want to get to a point, or sometimes companies want to interview candidates that you interview. Like that's part of their process. You want to get to a point where they trust you and they come to you and say, hey, this person applied. We think they might be good, but we want you to interview them just in case. You want to get to a point, when you get to that point, you're super sticky and they trust you. And that takes a long time. That ain't happening in the first week. Probably not going to happen in the first 6 months, to be honest with you.
No, not at all.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I always treat, you gotta laugh at this. I always treat sales like dating. Seriously, you got to get to know somebody. It's the same way with
Yeah.
sales and a company. You got to get to know them. I mean,
Yeah.
they're kind of like trusting you a little bit in the beginning, but they're still on that little bit of like, I can walk away too.
Yeah. And I think that is important up front in sales, is letting them know that it is okay to walk away. Like at any point in time during this process, when we're having conversations before we have orders filled, it's totally okay if you say, hey, not a good fit. I respect that a
Yeah.
ton, because now, like, I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to chase you. And we're being upfront, transparent. And now we're in a position to where we can work together in the future. Um, it's those organizations sometimes that don't always say that. And then it's a yes, yes, yes. And then just radio silence. Those are the tough ones to navigate. But
Ooh,
yeah,
they are.
the trust is built after the contract is signed.
There it is. All right, guys, you hear that out there? Trust is built after the contract. You get
Yes.
that contract, and then you go for happy hour, and you're all excited, and then it's
Yeah.
like, then it just crumbles after that.
Yeah, and a lot of deals fall apart like that, right?
Mhm.
Because you do all the work on the front end, you finally get you accomplished what you set out to do, and you got a job order.
Yeah.
And sometimes it just fizzles out there because you did what you said you were going to do. And a lot of sales roles, that is true, right? Your goal is to get contract signs and then everything's automated, like, maybe SaaS sales. But, in our industry, you don't bill unless you fill. So
Mhm.
you have to fill the roles if you want to start billing and making money. That's
Exactly.
just the truth.
If not, the boss is gonna be knocking on your door and saying, "Mike, what are you doing?"
Yeah, why'd your fill rate 0? I'm like, well, I don't know.
You know what?
It's not.
Is there a good time? Because this is a big one. Like when sales reps go out in the field and stuff like that, you're canvassing the area. Do you have certain days that you like better than others? Like Friday afternoons, but you know, I got my take on a lot of different things. I think Friday afternoons sometimes, that's when the decision makers in the office by themselves. So what's your take
Yeah.
on all this? Because it's so mixed across the board.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it depends on the industry too.
Hmm.
And so I work a lot in blue collar, light, medium, industrial type roles. So a lot of those shifts, they begin at 6 a.m. So, when I was with the branch, I would go check some of my folks in at 6 a.m. and then I immediately would do my drops and visits, all my sales activity, door knocking at like 6:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning. The day's just getting started. You might have people not show up and they might be in a bit of a pinch, and you're that Superman that came in at the right time. So that's a good time early in the morning. I like to send emails super early in the morning so they see them when they first walk in. But if I'm out in the field, I would just maybe not 11:30 to 1:30. Probably
Hmm.
not a good call. Um, I would Early in the morning is usually better, and then I would say for phone calls later in the afternoon, you'll tend to get more results.
Yeah. And you got to pick up the phone, Mike, right?
Yeah,
We talk about
yeah.
that all the time. Just an email and hoping somebody calls you back. Come on.
Well, who hope is not a strategy.
No, not at all. And what
No,
can you elaborate on that? Because I
no.
got to tell you, I seen it over my 14 years of working in staff, and it's just like they send an email and they're hoping every day that the company's going to respond back to them.
Yeah, I hear it on a every other Friday. We have a sales meeting, and
Hmm.
that's the theme is hope is not a strategy. You can't say, oh well, we met with them. I hope they move forward. That's not a good answer. You need to know your next steps. What's your strategy to get them to move forward? What pain did you uncover? What solutions did you propose? What are your next steps? And you need to know next steps of if they say yes, if they say not right now, if they say no. Like you should have 3 next steps to do that, and say they say not right now, totally understand when's a good time, when's appropriate for me to schedule another call with you. They'll tell you the date and time, right? Get that on the calendar right then and there. So I think that's important too. But yeah, you need to hope is not a strategy. You need to know what you're doing.
You summed it up there too. When you're on the phone with them, you got to schedule an appointment. You know how many reps get off the phone without
Yeah.
scheduling anything to hold them accountable for another date?
Yeah. And
It's like, oh, you
I
get them on the
think it's
phone.
because
Do it.
they're afraid to ask sometimes. As I've already had you on the phone for 2 minutes, you're not that interested, you'll never be interested. Right? It's like the company that you dropped in at 3 years ago that said they never used staffing before. It doesn't mean that they're never going to. Um,
Mhm.
you want to keep in touch with them at least a little bit. And I think for younger reps, sometimes it's okay to ask one more question of, I'll be in the area next Tuesday. Can I drop by? I'm not asking for don't ask for any orders on the first phone call, maybe not even the first meeting until you truly understand that. And when you tell people that up front, kind of eases them a little bit better to be more receptive to you.
Yes, and then we turn from sales into like being like a partner, or
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, consulting or whatever you want to call it, because that
right.
salesy part, we got to get over that. We're not
Yeah,
salespeople. We say we are, but that company, we got to treat them. They want to see us as a different view, not a salesperson, because that's like come and
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you knock on a door, and the first thing, oh, it's another salesperson, which is totally fair. I get that. I mean, I see it at my door sometimes too, and I do I answer the door every time because I do
No,
believe in
time out, Mike. Do
karma.
you answer the door when the bell rings, or
Yeah,
you're like
yeah.
you peek out the
Yeah.
corner and say,
Well, I check the Ring camera first,
"There you go."
but but no, I'll answer it because I'm like, that's me some
Yeah,
days out in the field. So I believe in good karma. I'll answer the door. I'll hear you out. But no, like you have to understand, you go and you're meeting a stranger for the first time. They don't know you. You have no idea who they are. Why would they tell you everything about their
you're
job
right.
and what they're struggling with? It makes no sense. Like if you met a random person on the street and they go, "How are you?" My first, good. How are you? Not everything that's going on in my life.
No, and you try
So,
not to make eye contact so you can get out of there because you know
right,
what the hell's going to happen.
yeah, head up if I know you, head down if I don't know you. But it's how it goes. And so same thing with prospects. You got to understand they're human. They think probably the same way you think.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta understand that. It takes 8 phone calls to probably schedule a meeting. It's going to take 2 more meetings to get contracts signed. It might even take 2 more meetings to get job orders. And if you contact someone every other week, that's 16 weeks worth of trying to connect with this person to get a job order. That's a whole almost over a quarter. You
Yeah.
start in January, you're not going to get an order till April.
Dude, it's like playing poker. You got to know when to hold them and when to fold them, right? Like little Kenny
Yeah,
Rogers there, man. Seriously, you do,
yeah,
because they got the hand and you got the hand too, and you're dealing back and forth, man, to see,
yeah. And you have to know when to back down
hmm
because if you don't know when to back down and just read the human being aspect of it, you're going to run into the same circle over and over and over again. You have to know when to call it quits. I think that's huge. So then you narrow your funnel down of actual viable prospects, and we're not just like you said, the spray and pray. You have to
Got it.
pre-qualify and qualify.
All right, brother. Really? Ghosting us? No, that never
Yeah,
happens, right? We need to call
no,
the
no.
Ghostbusters every day, bro.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I need to just take that van around Virginia and just start spraying people.
You know what? We need shirts that says, you know what? I'm not ghosting you, because I think a lot of
Right.
companies get ghosted, like I said, by staffing firms. So that'd be a cool shirt to wear, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would wear it.
I think it'd be a good
I,
conversation piece too. They're like, what the
it
hell?
would. Oh, I saw one. It was this guy brought a box of empty donuts, like a dozen donuts, to a prospect with a sticky note that said, "I drop by every day. Every day I have one donut," and he just gave him an empty box.
It's pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. I
I
like
was
it. Do
like,
you?
"It's interesting." I was like, "It's
Yeah.
interesting. I don't know if I want to eat 12 donuts, but I could just buy the box too.
Yeah,
I don't have to
exactly.
eat
Either
12
way.
donuts."
Have powder all over your face when you walk in. It's like, oh God, or half
That's
a
a
donut's
sketchy
broken
look.
off. Imagine that. I took a bite out of the donut, so now you're gonna hire me.
I mean, I've had stories about dropping donuts off to, you know, clients back in the day, and then you have some candidates that take a bite and leave it, and they're like, "Well, that was mine." I'm like, "That's come on."
Oh, I got to tell you,
You,
the worst gift to give out is a stress ball. I always say, I joke
yeah,
about it because it's like, why? You want to give me a stress ball to get more stress? I'm like, no.
right. Yeah, I mean, I did it at first. I was like, "Oh, just in case I stress you out," and now they associate me with stress. I'm like, I don't need that.
No, it's like when you look back now, you're like, man, some of the stuff we dropped off, gym bags and stuff. It's like,
Yeah,
and then you go in your office, they have it from the other competitor, like all this other stuff. And then your swag looks real small. You're like, oh man, It's like the fruit
Yeah.
basket. Like, look at theirs and look at mine.
Well, that's what sometimes you go into a prospect's office, the first thing I do is look around.
Mm-hmm.
If I see any sort of other staffing agency on there, I'm like, bingo, got it. And so
Yep.
I do that all the time.
And then when you see that, then you can start hitting them with like service, like, and I know you're using
Mhm.
another staffing firm, how's the service? Because they'll tell you. And usually if
Yeah.
you hit them on a good day where they're like, they suck, then you're like,
Yeah.
feed me
Oh,
more, man.
tell me more. Can you
Like,
elaborate
really?
on that?
They do? I
Yeah.
kind of like them guys over there, like play that
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
kindness.
Never badmouth them. Never badmouth
No,
them.
that's
But
one thing I always say. Tell them,
yeah,
no bad mouth a staffing firm ever.
no, you shouldn't do that. Yeah, I mean, look what's in there. And then you could also joke around, like, what am I, the 12th staffing rep to come in here today? Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. Sometimes it's like, no, but you're probably 5. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. So am I the lucky number? Are you going to keep 5 and take care of the
right,
rest?
yeah,
I mean, you have to
exactly
joke
right.
with them too, Mike, right? Little
Yeah,
humor.
yeah. I mean, it just loosens everything up.
You got it, brother.
It,
Okay.
yeah.
I love it, man. Before we get out of here, you got any stories? I mean, give me a couple of stories, man, from your career, man, that we can chuckle about, man.
Oh boy. I could write a book. In 7 years, I could write a book, but I think the funniest thing when I first started, so Langley Air Force Base and NASA is in Hampton, Virginia, and starting in July, this is probably around August, and they finally let me off the leash, go prospect, have at it. I'm like, awesome. I see NASA, I'm like, this would be a sick client. And I don't know anything, I don't know what's wrong. I don't even know what's right at this point. I pull up to the security gate, and you could think it's Langley Air Force Base and NASA. Armed
Mhm.
guards are there. I'm like, hey, I'm here to speak to your HR manager. And they're like, who? I'm like, the HR manager. I'm like, what's her name? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just here to see her. And they literally just go, turn around. And I was like,
You're like, I am not
so
prepared, and this is not where I should be.
I'm like, you know what? I don't know if the government services is gonna be my cup of tea. So almost got arrested at trying to prospect NASA. So that was fun.
Good one, man. Hey, give it credit, man. I love that there, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate all the ins and
Of
outs,
course.
man.
Yeah.
You are a rising rock star in the industry. You guys get a chance, make sure you follow Mike Bartels on all platforms. You're on mostly what, LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
man. I tell you what,
Find
man,
me on LinkedIn.
yeah, you're a rock star, brother, and I can't wait to see you in person. Maybe you'll be at Staffing World or one of the other events, man. But thank you for spending some time with us. We definitely got some great tips here, man. And peace, brother. I'll see you soon, man.
Appreciate it, Shark. Talk to you later,
You
man.
got it. Anytime, brother.
See
That's
ya.
a wrap, man. We'll see you soon. Take care, guys.